Hi, I'm Jungkook.
BTS News Today. The cold breeze swept softly through the streets of Seoul as the holiday season began to unfold. The sky looked pale, yet the city pulsed with life. Small twinkling lights were being strung along ginkgo trees in Apgujeong, and the faint scent of roasted chestnuts lingered in the air. Amid that familiar winter rhythm, a figure appeared and quietly changed the mood of the street. Jungkook, BTS's golden magne, stepped into view dressed in the kind of simple style that somehow made time stop. A deep blue denim jacket layered under a light gray coat that reached his knees. At first glance, he could have been any young man enjoying a cold afternoon. But anyone who knew him understood, nothing about Jungkook was ever ordinary. Even standing still, he radiated warmth. That afternoon, the air around Hanam seemed to shift the moment he walked by. Commuters who had been rushing slowed their steps, drawn to the calm energy of the dark-haired man with his hands tucked in his pockets, his head slightly bowed, a small smile gracing his lips. There were no flashing cameras, no HYB staff in sight, just Jungkook, the hum of the city, and the quiet poetry of winter. To most, it might have seemed like coincidence. But for the few armies who happened to be there, it became a memory they'd carry for life. What stood out wasn't only his presence, but the way he wore his clothes. Jungkook's fashion sense has always been natural, effortless, yet deeply personal. His denim jacket wasn't simply a style choice. It looked lived in, soft at the elbows, like a favorite piece that had shared countless days with him. Beneath it, a black turtleneck contrasted gently against his fair skin, while the gray coat over it seemed like a soft shield against the cold. No extravagant accessories, just a thin silver chain that glimmered when the light touched it. But that simplicity was exactly what made him magnetic. Jungkook wasn't trying to be stylish. He simply was. And that was enough to make the entire world pause. That a small cafe on the corner bore witness to how one person's presence could change the atmosphere completely. When Jungkook stepped through its door, the little bell above chimed delicately. The smell of coffee and cinnamon filled the air, and the few customers inside instinctively turned their heads. No one spoke. No one dared to break the calm. Jungkook appeared at ease, as though he had been there many times before. He ordered softly, then waited by the window where condensation blurred the view. From outside, his reflection appeared faint but unmistakable, a young man enveloped in quiet peace. He took a seat and draped his coat on the back of the chair. Under the warm glow of the cafe's hanging lights, the deep tone of his denim looked even richer. There was something poetic in the way Jungkook dressed. Not overthought, not forced, but effortlessly expressive. Some say true style is when clothes adapt to the person, not the other way around. That afternoon, Jungkook embodied that perfectly. He stirred his coffee slowly, eyes gazing beyond the fogged glass toward the first snowflakes of the season drifting through the air. Seconds stretched into long, tranquil moments. Outside, the world was frozen, yet around him the air felt warm. The barista behind the counter whispered to a coworker, "He's like someone carrying spring inside winter." Perhaps it sounded exaggerated, but no one could deny it. There was something healing about his presence. Someone eventually approached him, a young fan clutching a sketchbook. She hesitated, unsure, her eyes wide with hope. Without saying a word, Jungkook met her gaze, smiled softly, and nodded once, granting silent permission. No autographs, no photos, just a moment of quiet understanding. That silent warmth is what people have always loved about him. Jungkook is not only a global idol with a powerful voice and perfect moves, he is also someone who knows how to make others feel seen, even without speaking. Armies have long called him sunlight in the cold, a phrase that suddenly made sense that winter afternoon in Seoul. As the city chilled, he seemed to carry his own season of warmth wherever he went. HYB had yet to announce any official holiday plans for Jungkook, but rumors of a solo winter project had already flooded fan forums. Some believe the denim and outerwear he wore that day were part of a secret fashion shoot for a luxury brand's holiday campaign. Others thought he was filming a concept video. Jungkook himself remained silent, allowing mystery to bloom in his stead. The only certain thing was that people never stopped talking about him. Even when all he did was walk down a street with a cup of coffee in hand, By the time he left the cafe, evening had fallen. The streetlights glowed against the soft drizzle of melting snow, and his silhouette stretched long on the damp pavement. He pulled his gray coat back on, tightened the black scarf around his neck, and walked toward a small bridge overlooking the Han River. The wind picked up, but he didn't seem to mind. His hands were in his pockets again, his eyes lifted toward the dim sky, as if speaking silently to someone only his heart could hear. A few meters behind him, a photographer stood frozen in conflict. He recognized Jungkook instantly, but hesitated to lift his camera. Something about the moment felt sacred, too pure to capture. In the end, he lowered the lens, choosing instead to simply watch. Because sometimes, witnessing someone like Jungkook just being himself is more beautiful than any photograph. Rumors later swirled that Jungkook was preparing a project centered around warmth or light. Some fans speculated it might be a photo book. Others insisted it was a music video. But none of that mattered. Because even without releasing anything, Jungkook had already given the world something rare, the quiet beauty of authenticity. Days later, candid photos from that afternoon surfaced online. Within hours, hashtags like #JungkookWarmDenim and #WinterWithJK trended across Korean Twitter. "I saw him that day," one anonymous post read. "He wasn't with bodyguards. He just stood by the road looking up at the sky. His aura, I can't explain it. It felt like the world stopped spinning for a minute." The post gained tens of thousands of likes. And somehow, everyone agreed. Something about Jungkook had changed. Not physically, but spiritually. He seemed calmer, more mature, more peaceful. A week later, Jungkook surprised fans with a short Weverse live broadcast. The camera opened to a dimly lit room, a small candle flickering in the corner. He wore the same denim jacket, as if reminding everyone that warmth doesn't come from expensive clothes, but from the stories they hold. "It's winter again," he said with a gentle smile. "I hope everyone stays warm, not just your body, but your heart too." His voice carried sincerity, and within seconds, thousands of comments poured across the screen. "You are our warmth, Jungkook." The live didn't last long, barely 20 minutes. Yet when he looked into the camera and said softly, "I love you," it felt different, deeper, real. Perhaps it was because Jungkook has learned how to live in harmony between fame and stillness, between light and shadow, between the cold of the season and the warmth he carries within. In the days that followed, fashion magazines began writing about his winter style. Jungkook's denim philosophy appeared as a headline on a major Korean fashion site. The article read, "He doesn't simply wear clothes. He gives meaning to each layer. The denim brings warmth. The coat offers protection. The scarf holds serenity." Jungkook understands that true warmth is not a matter of temperature, but of energy. The piece was praised widely. One Seoul designer even commented that Jungkook possesses a sense of silent charisma, a charisma that needs no performance to exist. As the holidays approached, Seoul grew brighter with festive lights and carols. Jungkook was spotted a few times walking at night, earphones in, his breath visible in the cold air. Sometimes he was alone, sometimes with Jimin or Taeyong, but always with that same beloved denim jacket. There was a constancy in him, a steady, glowing core that seemed untouched by the chaos of fame.
Other cages, no, I